The Companies Act 1956, Section 3, Definitions of Company, Existing Company, Private Company and Public Company. Now we are going to focus our attention only two expressions. One, the company, another, the existing company. Subsection 1 of Section 3 says, in this Act, unless the context otherwise requires. We need to underline this expression, unless the context otherwise requires. Again, subsection 1 of section 3 says, in this Act, unless the context otherwise requires, the expressions company, existing company, private company and public company shall, subject to the provisions of subsection 2, have the meaning specified below. So in this Act, unless the context otherwise requires, the expressions company, existing company and private company and public company shall have the meaning specified below, subject to the provisions of subsection 2. Let us go to understand the definition of company. As far as this Companies Act 1956 is concerned, always remember here, unless the context otherwise requires, this expression we always need to remember. Company means a company formed and registered under this Act, or company also means an existing company as defined in clause 2. So again, subsection 1 of section 3. Here clause 1 says, company means a company formed and registered under this Act or an existing company as defined in clause 2. So existing company is also included in the meaning of expression company. So again, company means, number 1, a company formed and registered under this Act. Number 2, company also means an existing company as defined in clause 2. So let us go to clause 2 to understand the definition of existing company. As far as the Companies Act 1956 is concerned, existing company means a company formed and registered under any of the previous company's laws. What are these previous company's laws? 1. Any act or acts relating to companies in force before the Indian Companies Act 1866. So the acts which were there in force before the Indian Companies Act 1866 and the very acts were repealed by that act, means repealed by the Indian Companies Act 1866. So previous companies laws, here first is referred in the Companies Act 1956, all the acts relating to companies in force before the Indian Companies Act 1866 and the very acts were repealed by the Indian Companies Act 1866. Second line, the Indian Companies Act 1866. Third, the Indian Companies Act 1882. Fourth, the Indian Companies Act 1913. 5. The Registration of Transferred Companies Ordinance 1942 and any law corresponding to any of the acts or the ordinance aforesaid in force. So another is the Portuguese Commercial Code insofar as it relates to Sociedades Anónimas. So all these acts are called previous companies laws as far as the Companies Act 1956 is concerned. So till now we were referring company and existing company. We were trying to understand the definition of company and existing company in section 3 of the Companies Act 1956. Again, let us revisit section 3. subsection 1. In this act, unless the context otherwise requires, the expressions company, existing company, private company, and public company shall have the meaning specified below. Company means a company formed and registered under this act, or an existing company as defined in clause 2. So, company means a company formed and registered under this act. Company also means an existing company. So, and the expression existing company is also included in the meaning of company. So, there is also a meaning. Company means company formed and registered under this act, first point. Second, it also includes an existing company as defined in clause 2. Let us go to clause 2 to understand existing company. Existing company means a company formed and registered under any of the previous company's laws. So we were referring the previous company's laws. 1. Acts or acts relating to the companies in force before the Indian Companies Act 1866, and the very acts were repealed by the Indian Companies Act 1866. Second, the Indian Companies Act 1866. 3. The Indian Companies Act 1882. 4th, the Indian Companies Act 1913. 5th, the Registration of Transferred Companies Ordinance 1942. And 6th, any law corresponding to any of the acts or ordinances aforesaid. So another is there, the Portuguese Commercial Code. So till now we were referring to company and existing company, its meanings defined in section 3 of the Companies Act 1956. We need to understand two more expressions, private company and public company. Its definitions are also available in section 3 of the Companies Act 1956.